Hello ladies and gentlemen, we're playing Empyrion Galactic Survival again, and I wanted to do a really comprehensive tutorial on small vessel building. Small vessels are going to be the bread and butter of your exploration in this game, and I think it's really important to get it right first time, because when you're starting out you are a bit limited on resources, and unless you've built a ground vehicle, which I don't really suggest doing, then you're going to struggle to accumulate enough resources to fix any issues that you've created for yourself. So I want to talk about the basic building of a small vessel. First I'm going to show you my primary vessel, and I'll explain how that works, and then we'll go and we'll build our own, and I'll show you how that works. So without further ado, let's get the HUD back and let's check out a small vessel. So this is my small vessel. Well, this is one of my small vessels. You can see it's got 4 guns on it, there's a spotlight, I've got landing gear, the cockpit, and I've got everything I need to survive, except for a crafting station, which I didn't put on this because I wanted to keep it smaller. And I achieved that. This is a nice little vessel, flies beautifully. I've got 2 fuel. I've got 2. What are they called? Fuel tanks. I've got 3 storage chests or storage boxes. I've got 2 oxygen tanks and another storage chest here. And I've got a refrigerator and of course the oxygen station. This is a very, very simple, yet very, very, very useful, and I personally think quite a well thought out design, with some frills that makes it look kind of nice. I'm not going to lie, I like this design. I think I did a nice job with it. I like the paint. I love doing the two-tone. It just makes it look more spacey. If it's not, blue and white, then it's red and white, or it's just a nice two-tone combination. I think if you add too many colours, you'll ruin it. But we're going to get a view from up top, and we're going to take a look at this. So currently, let's just for example say this is the Z-axis here, going across from front to back. The X-axis is going horizontally side to side, and the Y-axis is going vertically. Can't really show you vertically. It's going like vertically rather than side to side, or back to front. So you've got the 3 axes, I suppose, and basically what you're going to need to do is have control over all 3 of them, and that means having 6 thrusters. The way I discovered to do this best is to have 2 on each side, if that makes sense. You'll have two thrusters per axis. I personally like to use 9 thrusters and 2 main on the back, but I'll explain that when we start building. Basically, you need to be able to rotate your ship around every single axis. Now, in flight terms, you're talking about your yaw, which is horizontal along the x-axis, your roll, which again is tilting across the z-axis, and your pitch, which is then coming up and around in a semicircle around the y-axis. Now this gives you a full range of mobility. You can go to any angle, and this is very important. I don't focus on roll, because roll is something you really don't need in this game. It's really not that important. It's nice to have, which is why I make sure I have the thrusters to keep roll, but it's not essential. But the most important is your yaw and your pitch, because when you're fighting you want to be able to point where you want, and it's very important that you have a mobile ship when you're fighting the space drones, because the space drones are not fun. So without further ado, let's go and start building one. First, I want to take a look at the cockpits. Like I said, I want to try and get this as comprehensive as possible, But in this chest, this is the absolute basics you need to make a ship. You need some fuel, not very much, a vessel starter, and this is easy to make. It's just a core and 8 of these hull blocks. You need some hull blocks. It doesn't matter how many you have really, as long as you have enough to fill the shape. You need to have an RCS unit, which is the reaction control system, something like that. And it applies torque for turning. So this is what you need to be able to make these shift, if that makes sense. Then you've got your cockpit, obviously. You've got your generator and your fuel tank, and of course your directional thrusters. There are 6 here because you need 2 in every axis, as I was explaining earlier. So let's go and get the cockpits. This is all the frill. You've got the other types of cockpits. We're going to get them out and I'll show you them. And you can decide which one you like best, and I'll tell you why I like the one I like best. You've got things that you don't really need, but it's kind of nice to have. For example, landing gear. You've then got your life support systems, which is oxygen station, oxygen tanks, and your refrigerator. These will allow you to store food and store oxygen and also use oxygen. Then you've got your extra little bits which are useful. Small constructors are always useful if you're planning to go to a planet and mine and set up a small forward base. It's always really useful to have a small constructor with you. It means you can build things that you might have forgotten to build, or you can start converting ore before you have your base fully set up and powered. You've got your cargo boxes, which are self-explanatory, incredibly useful if you need to carry stuff and your inventory is full, or you just like to have stuff stored in your ship, like I do, like emergency supplies. Then cargo boxes are perfect. I've got 7, it's way too many. You only need 3 maximum or minimum, I suppose, and it's just really useful. You've got spotlights, again, very, very useful, and again, the additional thrusters, which I'll talk about. Hull blocks, slope blocks, hull corners, you've got your hull inverted corners, and you've got your hull quarter, and of course more fuel. And then we've got the armament, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. You've got your 2 basics, your Gatling gun and your rocket launcher, and then you've got your 3 more advanced, so you've got your rail guns, your plasma cannons, and your pulse lasers. If you remember my ship, which I just showed you, you can see that it has pulse lasers on it, and if we have a quick look at my other small vessel, it has 4 rocket launchers on it. I like to stick to 4. 4 seems to work really well, especially when centered around the front, the nose. I'll explain that why in a second. But again, these do take a little extra building, and they require some more rare and harder to get materials, which is why you'll end up using one of these, and why ultimately you should only use the rocket launcher, because the Gatling gun is terrible. But if we have enough time at the end of this video, I will demonstrate each and every one of these. If not, I'm going to make a separate video talking about the armaments of small vessels, and I'll make that really clear, and I'll just explain a little bit of how each of them works and why I picked the ones I want to pick. But without further ado, let's go and place all these down. So we're going to start off with our hull block, with our starting block. It's going to turn to night soon. Let me turn the lights on. You can see the arrow points forward. This is the direction the ship is facing. That becomes abundantly clear as soon as you put down your cockpit. It will just point in the way it wants to go. So we're going to go from the first cockpit, just cockpit, and then we're going to go cockpit 01, we're going to go cockpit 02, then 03, then 04. There are 5 cockpits available to us, some larger than others. You can see here that this one is fairly large, and if we look at the stats, it is 4 blocks wide, 3 in height, and 5 deep, which is fairly large, and I would not recommend using this. For me, the major thing is just having this little non-mirrored, you can't have equal sides, and that kind of annoys me. I don't like that. I like having an odd number, because the odd number allows you to have a middle block. And I like placing my light in the middle block right directly underneath the hull. But we will place it down and we'll take a look. This is the hull block. This is the Cockpit 01. It's fairly standard. We'll get inside. You can see that it has quite a lot of stuff going on. It's you've got a lot of vision. I don't like my peripheral being blocked by these bars here and here and then up here. It's not nice, and sometimes you really need to see where those are. For some reason, most of the things you're going to be looking at are going to be in that general area. It's like the bars next to your windshield when you're driving. There are just things that you can miss. And then you've got your control panels. These do nothing. This is just textures. There's no point looking at it. It's just fluff. So any space down here which is intruding onto the screen is really not necessary. But this gives you a basic idea of what you're going to be seeing out of it. So let's get rid of it and let's take a look at Cockpit 01. So while this is reloading, Cockpit 01. This is the largest cockpit we have available to us. As you can see, it is vast. It is one block lower, so it's only 3 blocks in height, I think. No, it's only 4 blocks in height, the other was 5. This is, however, 5 blocks wide. This would be a fairly decent cockpit if you were going to be building a large small vessel. I don't know why you'd want to make a large small vessel. I think the idea of small vessels is that they're nippy and maneuverable. It's really not worth having something too big, because if it's too big, you won't be able to avoid the dogfights that you get into with the space drones. But again, here you can see we have a lot more space down here to actually see what's going on. And again, you've got exactly the same cockpit, but again, it's the same sort of visibility, except you have slightly more down here, which means you have just a little bit more awareness, spatial awareness when you're flying. However, this is a very, very large cockpit, and I don't recommend it. I think it looks cool, but ultimately not practical. And then I'll show you the next cockpit. This is Cockpit 02, I believe. Yes, 02. This is the cockpit you will see on your emergency vehicle, on your escape pod. As you can see already, you can see into it. It's transparent. We're going to have a quick look at everything. The seat doesn't look very comfortable, I'm not going to lie. And you've got these 2 arching bits, which we're going to take a look, and you're going to see they're a little bit in the way. So here you go. We're inside the cockpit. We're going to take a look around. You've got a lot of nice space down here in each of the side panels, and especially up around the roof. But you have got a huge bit of your peripheral blocked, and this is one of the reasons why I really, really dislike this cockpit. You just can't see a lot of what's going on in front of you. You haven't got a lot of space down here, and there's just not a huge amount going on. But again, this is the cockpit you'll be using if you fix up your escape pod. So let's take a look at the Cockpit 04, which was my favourite until I read a post talking about the Cockpit 03 even. So this, much smaller. It looks very sleek, fighter jet-esque. This was my favourite. It was mostly for the looks. I think it looks pretty damn awesome. However, I stopped using this in favour of the next one I'm going to show you, which is the one we're going to be keeping on the ship. As you can see, again, you've got quite a nice little bit of peripheral down here at the sides, and especially low from the crosshair. But you have got a lot of your peripheral being taken up by these big grey bars, and that's not nice, especially if you're trying to concentrate on a target that's in front of you. Again, a cool looking, probably the coolest looking escape cockpit, but again, unpractical just because of these bars. However, it does look really cool, and if I was going to be building a ship for show, I would be using this. And this is onto my favourite cockpit, I'm just going to show you Cockpit 04, and as you can see, it is the smallest of the lot, and this has a definite advantage, and I'll tell you that in just a second. So you can see, very small, sleek, nice, lots and lots and lots of open glass space. You can see you've still got loads of space around here. Your peripheral is not blocked so much, because seeing from the side isn't as important as seeing all the way up here. This is a really lovely cockpit, and this is my favourite. It's also my favourite because it is a block shorter than the others. Now, this means if you are being shot at, you have got a much smaller profile of your cockpit being hit, and as soon as your cockpit is hit, you are ejected from your ship and you can no longer fly it. It sounds kind of obvious, but I was confused when it first happened. So as soon as your cockpit is shot and destroyed, you're out and you can't fly about anymore. That means if you're in space, you've lost everything until you can get another SV there to recover what you've lost. So very frustrating. That's why I use this cockpit, because it's just small and nice. But without further ado, let's grab all these basic building blocks and let's build us a, let's stick these back there. Let's build us a plane. So we're just going to build a really basic plane shape. It's nothing spectacular, nothing special, just because I want to make sure you can see the basics of it. We're going to go a few up front and a few to the back. We're actually going to place our RCS unit first, and I think once we're here we'll have our wings there. Yes, that'll be good. So we've got the basic shape of what we want, or what I want. I'll set the jetpack back on so we can move around a little bit better. Yep, there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these two blocks here. You know what, actually I'm not going to remove this block. I'm going to remove this block here. Fix that one, and then we're going to remove this block here. And then we're going to remove center of mass. One thing I've forgotten to point out is for your yaw, you want to try and balance it through your center of mass as much as possible. If you're yawing in front of your center of mass or around the nose of your cockpit, it's not great. You really want to be pivoting around your seat, which is going to be this block line. So you want to try and keep it balanced. Now the weight's going to be slightly far back, which means we need these yawing ones slightly further back, or these yawing ones slightly further forward, just so we can get that there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them here. This should be more than back enough, and we're going to stick those down. Fix that. We're going to take our 4, and I'm going to show you why I like 9. We're going to rotate that round. No, and I'll get it eventually. There we go. That's 1, 2, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to reverse it. So, no, we're not. Never mind. We're just going to stick these out to the sides. And now you can see that when we want to turn, say for example we want to turn this way to our left, the right side at the front will fire and the left side at the back will fire, and that will mean we will pivot or yaw to our left hand side and the opposite for the right. This is a very simple way of doing it. Now next we want to have some thrust going down, so let's just get this. Stick this there so I can see where it's going to go. What's nice is you can see the hexagonal block on the top. This hexagonal signifies the bottom, so you can see this is going to push it up, and we want another one going up, and we want to try and balance this around the center of mass so it lifts around the right area. And then we want one facing down, facing the other way even, sorry. And this doesn't really matter where it goes, so we're just going to stick it back there. And then we need one more Oh, no, we need one going forwards to slow us down, and we need one going backwards to speed us up. Now, as soon as I place the generator and the RCS unit and the fuel, which I'm just about to do, we should be able to fly this. So let's go ahead, place the RCS unit just down here. We're going to stick the generator here, and we're going to fold it down. There we go. And we're going to stick the fuel just at the back here, so we can extend this out to one block, and there. Cool, so let's stick a little bit of fuel in here. And let's see if we fly. So we're going to turn it on with Y, spacebar to go up, and as you can see, we're moving along quite nicely. It's actually got fantastic mobility, and as you can see, wherever I want to turn, the back turns, there you go. You see? So this is your basic ship, and you can see we've got a very poor roll authority, but that's okay because you really don't need it. So, fantastic. Your first little ship. Now, if you want to make this a little bit more of a little ship, what we're going to do is we're going to land, and we're going to build this thing up a little bit into something that you are slightly more proud of. But essentially, this is what you're looking for in a ship. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place these two rockets, and I'm going to put that on either side of the fuel tank, like this. This just means that the fuel tank is now exposed from the back, which means we will have an easy time refilling it. And then you've got far more thrust going forwards, which means you accelerate to your maximum velocity much faster. Now, your maximum velocity on the land, or in atmosphere I suppose, on the planet, towards the planet's surface, is going to be 40 meters a second. 40 meters a second is your fastest velocity, and that's really not very fast at all. You're talking, I think, about 90 miles an hour is what 40 meters a second is, if I remember what I calculated last time. So you're only moving about 90 miles an hour on this planet's surface, and for a spaceship that's very, very slow. And once you get into orbit and into actual space, your maximum travel speed will be 110 meters a second, which I think is around 240 perhaps, something like that. 240, 250 miles per hour, which again is not very fast, considering that the space shuttle in a low Earth orbit has to travel at 17,500 meters a second, which is, let me think, I think that's about nearly 8 kilometers a second. Is what it comes down to. So very, 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 very fast. So this is not at all realistic. If you move that kind of speed, you're probably orbiting this planet in under, a second. I wouldn't be surprised. That is incredibly fast. Orders of magnitude faster than these ships. But without further ado, let's start filling this thing up and make it feel like a real ship. So we don't need that anymore. Let's get one of these blocks here. Cool, we're going to get a nice little cone going. Nope, there we go. Going to angle this nose forward a little bit. And we're going to take that forward. There we go. I like this shape. I like the pointed nose style. I'm going to delete a few of these blocks here. And this one as well, yes. And then I'm going to take this block here. We're going to rotate that around. There we go. I've been lucky so far. I normally really, really mess up these. And what we're going to do is just going to fill this out a little bit, and we're going to add our life support systems, and then we can head off and fly somewhere. So let's just take this out a couple of blocks, take this out a couple of blocks, there we go, and one there, like that, and again like that. That might be an interesting shape. We'll find out. So just go like this. We can decide whether we like it or not in a minute. Oh yeah, I like that. I do like that. Cool. So this is what we're going to be doing. This just needs to come round once, because that was 2, wasn't it? Yes, it was 2. And then this goes for 3, I think. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes. I feel like I'm pulling some of my inspiration from Freelancer, which is an old game from, I think, 1990 something, maybe, I'm not sure. An old game, brilliant game. And as you can see, this is going to be the basics of our ship. Just very, very, very simple, lovely. Oh, no. Just, okay, well, we're going to have to get rid of those. Which I shall do right now. And we're not going to paint it. And I think this is probably going on long enough. So once I finish this, I will finish the video. And I will then make an armaments video afterwards. And if people would like that, then I will upload it sooner than I would normally. Try to go up in a couple of days. So let's see if we can start sticking our important life support systems on before we start filling out the rest of it. And oh, morning has broken. Fantastic. So let's get our oxygen station on. Rotate this round. Go up. Oh, we need that. No, that's the wrong rotation. That's also the wrong rotation. That is the correct rotation. Perfect. And we want our oxygen bottle here. There we go. And we would like a refrigerator here. I don't like that side. I like this side. Yes, like that. That's the side I like of the refrigerator. And this is too big. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick that there. And we're going to stick 2 storage boxes here. Like that. Now, this means that we should have everything we need to have a fully functioning vessel, small vessel, that will support us through our exploration and our journeys into space and to far beyond planets. Now, let's just finish this up with a little bit more decoration, some nice curved bits here and some nice bits there, and some landing gear. And once we've got that sorted, I can end the video and then I'll start on the other one for the armament, which hopefully will be entertaining as well. So let's just flip this around. And this is pretty much it. If you want to do the underside, what I recommend you doing is filling up the fuel tanks. It'll give you a long hover time, and building like this. This will allow you to do things like placing blocks underneath, which is what I like doing. I like doing this kind of thing. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to run the entire length of the ship like that, and hopefully, I have enough blocks to do this, and run the entire length of the ship this way. And what I'll do here is I'll just block this off and cap it here like that, and then I'll need 1 block down here for landing gear, which I'll have this block here on the flat. And what I'll do is I'll stick one of these underneath it to make it a little bit more sleek. So we've got our landing gear on the same level as our landing gear at the front, which is going to go here underneath the cockpit, just there. So as you can see, This, if we turn it off and it'll crash, there we go. This is your small vessel. Doesn't seem that small, but I can guarantee it is, and this is everything you will need to survive out in space. So, let's go fly it, see how it works, and yeah, there we go. It flies perfectly, flies like a dream. You can see it's smooth. It's really, it's very nice. I like this. I think I've done a good job. So I hope you like the video. I hope you've learned enough, and especially the basics. It's just the placement of the thrusters that's really important, and what you do with them, and how you make sure you've got everything sorted on it. And don't try to exceed the amount of thrusters that you really need. You probably only need one thruster, one normal thruster at the back to make sure you can go and accelerate fast enough, because this game, it's got such a low maximum speed that adding thrusters will only make you hit that top speed even faster, and it'll burn your fuel even faster as well. At 29% fuel consumption, I've only got 10 minutes of flight time. Now 10 minutes of flight time is still quite a lot. I tend to make multiple fuel tanks. I have 2 on each of those vessels. At the moment there's no long range flying for short vessels, and really that'll be relegated down to capital vessels. So yeah, but I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you'll like this little tutorial and basic info on how to build a small vessel. I'm going to finish it up, paint it, and then I'll be ready for the weapons, and I'll teach you about the armaments and its capabilities. So I hope you really enjoy this video, and let's just have a quick look. Oh, look at that thing. Oh, she's pretty. I like this swept wing. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon.